Welcome back to NuWho Review. There are three of us today to talk about part one of this second two-parter of season 9, Under the Lake. My name is Farrar, and I am back with our usual cohorts, Lewis.
Hello there.
And Paul.
Hi there.
Well, a return to classic Doctor Who form, I would say. We had corridors, we had a base under siege, and we had some big toothy grins from the Doctor this week, which everybody was calling Tom Baker's name after this episode.
I thought that he was doing a Tom Baker impression half the episode, and boy, did I really like that.
But you know, what I liked about this episode, though, included the fact that although we had a little bit of that old feel, it didn't seem like we were just revisiting old material. It had a feel of classic Who, but it felt like something new. It wasn't just a rehash. People weren't saying, oh, God, they did Robots of Death again, or, oh, it's another base under siege. We've seen this all before, you know, because the monsters are good, the cast is good, and it really had that feel. You know,
and a good mystery behind it, too.
Yeah.
Mystery, horror, and humor is what Doctor Who does best.
Yeah.
And it felt like an old series, but we brought in so many new elements that it was your subconscious really, it got you there, but you, like you said, you don't feel like you're retreading old territory.
Yeah, and the humor was good. You know, there were jokes, but the show wasn't a joke.
Exactly.
You know, there were some great moments there, which were...
well, you needed humor to lighten the mood on an episode like this. I felt that there was a lot of suspense, and it really kept your heart racing all the way up to the cliffhanger.
Yeah, the pacing of this episode was very good, I thought. Yeah. And I liked the fact that the supporting cast were not completely interchangeable, which is something that I have seen and I've complained about in previous episodes over the last 10 years, which is that we have a supporting cast of 4, and they all speak the same. You know, we don't know anything about them. They all, you know, basically are interchangeable characters. This time we had very little time to get to know the supporting cast, but they all had different personalities, and I like that. You know, they have room to breathe.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and the one that they had to kill off first, they really telegraphed his hateability really quickly. The company man.
Yeah, and that reminded me of old Doctor Who as well.
As well as Aliens.
There were so many times,
very obviously drawn.
There were so many times I remember in the 70s and 80s when the root of the problem was some guy who was obsessed with making money, and that's why these people were out living some strange life or doing some dangerous thing. It's because the company insisted that these things happen.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, let's just go against our better judgment because money. And the Doctor continues to show a disdain for people whose sole motive is profit. And we've seen that with almost all the Doctors, from at least the second on.
So that was another wonderful callback trope of this episode.
Well, it's nice to see the Doctor is still the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes the comment, who's in charge? And the company man describes and says, okay, I know to ignore you from now on. Why are you still talking to me? That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still Capaldi.
Yeah.
Wait. I don't think they're going to hurt us. I think that they're just curious.
You sure?
I mean, define sure.
One interesting thing, the TARDIS cannot translate sign language. That was probably just convenience for the audience, especially considering the fact that American Sign Language and British Sign Language are different.
True, and, you know, when the Doctor demonstrated how it worked for the first time in Fires of Pompeii, I don't know how the TARDIS would translate sign language if you think about it. I mean, it translates visually.
If it can't speak in your head...
Right.
This is when a Babelfish would be really handy.
Mind you, when the ghosts were mouthing silent words, you know, and there was a deaf person second in command.
I was waiting for that.
That was very cleanly telegraphed early on. I thought that was pretty predictable, but
yeah,
it was a good plot device.
They really made us wait for it, though.
Yeah.
And actually, the fact that she had to look at it a few times and figure it out is very true to form, because, of course, there are a lot of consonants that look the same.
Yeah.
So the fact that she didn't just get it right away was really nice.
You know, that's
She's
an educational...
not a magic deaf person.
Right,
She's
that's
just
an
a deaf
educational subtext that I'm sure provoked a lot of talk amongst little British kids, and that's something good to bring up, honestly.
It is, because Doctor Who at its core has always been the kind of show that the family watches it, and then the kids ask questions and you start conversations.
Mm-hmm.
and that was good. It didn't hammer it home like Vincent and the Doctor, the message about mental illness.
Right.
But this is just one of those things where, the kids are going to be a little curious about that. Maybe they have a friend at school who signs and they wonder, what's this, can they also read lips, or maybe whatever. It's going to start a conversation, and I like that.
What are they?
I haven't a clue. Isn't that exciting?
What do we think about the introduction of the index cards of empathy? It's almost like Clara is giving the Doctor some cheat sheets to take with him, so kind of prepare him when he's on his own without her, perhaps sometime in the near future.
Two schools of thought on that. One of them comes from my wife, who, when we saw that scene, turned to me and said, "So the Doctor has Asperger's now?" And the second school of thought is, he's still an alien.
He always has been an alien. That's the thing, and this is reinforcing the fact that, he's not just some guy you're traveling with that now is a little bit older or a little bit younger, a little bit different. He is an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was all too human when he was 10 and 11, I think.
Right.
Tennant and Smith's doctors were. Okay,
More human
Matt
than
Smith
anyone
was very wacky, but he still reacted in a very human way.
I mean, Eccleston started out being having those characteristics that were the Doctor's characteristics. He wasn't as empathetic.
And Rose humanized him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Clara is trying to humanize the Doctor now.
Right.
I'm not sure that she's a very good teacher, but she's at least making an effort.
No, and also that was a really funny throwaway gag. I mean, I don't expect to see it come up over and over again.
No.
Ever again. But it really made me laugh out loud and fall off my seat. So,
Well, personally, I was very glad to see a little bit of that Eccleston Doctor instead of, I'm so sorry, which is what Tennant
Yeah.
would have said. And
Well,
Tennant said
he-
it so much that I couldn't really believe it after a while.
True, but that was part of his personality. That incarnation had a lot of soul, and he had a lot of depth of emotion, and this harkens back to the aloof Tom Baker once again. That moment in Pyramids of Mars where he's basically looking very alien, and he says, "I'm a Time Lord. I walk in eternity." And we don't get moments like that often enough.
No, and sometimes the actor himself puts it in.
Yeah.
I mean, remember City of Death, where Tom Baker had the line, "You're a beautiful woman," and he had it probably. Probably was not in the script. Tom Baker ad-libbed that in rehearsal, and they said, keep it. So, there are those things.
Brilliant.
And I wonder if Capaldi himself is having an influence where he says, I want to play the Doctor as an alien.
Yeah.
Like he has been.
Yeah, I should hope so.
And it's working. I think it's working. Because, the Doctor has a companion. Okay, I have a companion too. It's a cat. I don't speak cat, but we communicate on a certain level, right? I think that's how the Doctor is with humans. And every time he regenerates, he either gains or loses skills when it comes to relating with human beings, communicating with them. So I think it would make sense that he's had a traumatic experience. He has this regeneration thrust upon him, and he's relearning his human communication skills. Makes sense to me.
I think he's loosened up quite a bit.
Yeah.
We can all agree in the past 3 episodes he's loosened up. I mean, he's let his hair go. He's he just feels more like he's still learning, but he's more comfortable in his own skin, I think, now.
Mm-hmm.
True, and how many years had elapsed between seasons, too?
Yeah.
It's unknown.
There's really absolutely no way to know that, and I
Right.
guess that's part of the fun for eventually when Peter Capaldi 4 years from now is doing Big Finish audios, which will be fantastic.
Yeah.
They'll just be filling in those
Yeah,
gaps.
true.
Uh-huh.
That's
But
true. I mean, they're good at that. They can give him a whole companion before he ends up picking up Clara again.
Well, no, actually, I can't. It's been deleted for semaphore. Someone get me a selection of flags.
What do we think of the I think appropriate use of the sonic sunglasses in this instance?
That was very Star Trek-like.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
Very Geordie LaForge.
Right.
But it shows that they're more than replacing a sonic screwdriver. They have something else to offer.
That's true. They did show the sonic screwdriver at one point engaging some sort of 3D display to where the Doctor could actually look at things using the sonic screwdriver. And that seemed a little far-fetched.
They were starting
If
to
you
get
actually
very
have
carried
glasses-
away with the sonic screwdriver, if you ask me.
Yeah. But this time, if you actually have glasses, it's something you look through.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially when you have immersive gaming now. I mean, that's something that happens in real life where you put something on your face and you're completely immersed in a different place.
And mind you, I think it could also go too far. You know, I really hope that they do something about it before he starts, say, shooting beams 10 feet across the room to disable locks or
Cyclops?
open doors. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could take anything and run away with it as a plot device if they're too lazy to think better.
Well, this episode certainly didn't seem lazy to me at all.
No,
I thought it was
no.
pretty tight. And
Yeah,
even,
well, the guy that wrote this one, too, appears to be a really long-time fan, and he's been responsible for some pretty interesting stuff.
Toby Woodhouse?
Toby Woodhouse did School Reunion, which was very good, very sentimental.
Yeah.
But he also did God Complex, which was very intriguing. He did one of my least favorite Matt Smith's episodes, which was the Western one. What was that called?
Oh.
A Town Called Mercy.
Oh, yeah. I
Which
just
I
call
thought-
it
Oh,
an
the return
episode
of,
called...
with the return of Susan.
An episode called
not,
Crap.
Not the Susan you were thinking of.
Yeah, I really
An episode
detested
called
that one.
Skippable.
Yeah, it was bad. But on the whole, he's done pretty well, and I think this might be his strongest one.
Well, that's one of the things about Doctor Who writers. You know, they sometimes take 2 or 3 episodes to really find their stride, and especially when they have good characters and good characterizations to work with. You know, I mean, this year's Doctor is not last year's Doctor. As you
True,
said, we
true
don't know
enough.
how much time has elapsed. He's much more comfortable in his own skin. He's got more of a sense of humor, and he knows who he is now. He's not plagued by that existential doubt, you know.
Right.
He's not saying, am I a good man?
Yeah, I'm glad they shook that off.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, there was a little bit of that in the opener, but it was revealed to be somewhat of
An
a
act.
ploy. It was an
Yeah.
act, right? So I think he's back on his feet again.
Yeah.
So who's in charge now? I need to know who to ignore.
The only thing I really didn't like about this episode was the fangirl. That seemed really out of place. And it reinforces the fact that this is a small universe. For a while, I thought, oh, we're in 2119, we're under a lake, these are places that we haven't really been before. Even though we're still on Earth, it feels like we're broadening the universe. And then, oh, it's the Doctor, I'm such a huge fan, and there we are again. We're just that kind of small circle of people, and his reputation precedes him again.
Well, yeah, but they recognized UNIT right off the cuff. And it seems to me like they are paramilitary. They must be close to UNIT. Close enough to have absorbed some of UNIT's own lore, I guess. You know, it seems like the Doctor will continue to be active with UNIT throughout their entire span.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure on the relationship with UNIT because, I mean, it's kind of like Tomb of the Cybermen, you know, where there's one guy with the money, and
Yeah.
he's in charge of this whole group. And I was thinking, well, how exactly are they related? This is not a private expedition. It looks like they have military equipment.
Maybe she spent some time in the Black Archives and she read the back catalog of the Doctor's exploits. Who knows?
Yeah, but the people manning the base said that they were all military.
So why were they hired by a private company? I don't get that. Maybe in the 22nd century, the lines have been blurred between public and private.
Yeah, maybe.
Or the military is so strapped for cash that they allow a private energy company to rent out their equipment
Yeah,
and crews.
I'm pretty
Halliburton.
sure they clarified that, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just a ploy. I mean, it's a device. We needed to have a reason for them to be there. We had a reason for them to be there and uneasy about why they're there. And the guy got killed anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, there's also the fact that they are immediately taking the Doctor as the de facto leader. You know, there was no real questioning this time whether he was to be trusted or, you know, they whipped out the psychic paper and put an end to that right away.
Yeah, and I think that's part of a post 2005 Doctor Who. I mean, it has to be because you don't have a 4-part episode where the majority of the first part is the Doctor getting into trouble and trying to convince people that they should listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that in a 4-part story. You can't do it in a 2-parter.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could, but it would be
But it
a
would
very
be a waste of people's time.
well, and it would be a very depressing first part because the
right.
action continues to happen. The Doctor tells you not to do things, bad things happen. The Doctor tells you to do things, bad things happen.
Right.
He keeps trying to convince people that they should listen to him, and then the end of the first episode comes, and either they're just beginning to listen to him, or they haven't, And we've had an episode of nothing but disasters.
Yeah. But in this case, he had to convince them over and above that to actually put themselves in the line of
jeopardy,
danger.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of bad things, what do we think is actually the nature of these of the message that these ghosts are trying to convey? The initial message they were conveying is the location of the tomb, for want of a better word, or the cryogenic suspension chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But were they conveying any other message besides that?
I think we're going to find out. I think there are two possibilities. One, they're benevolent aliens and they're trying to get home, and what they're doing to the humans is an accident because they don't know how human life works. Or, option two, they really do want to just come over to Earth and colonize it.
yeah,
I think we'll find out.
Wonder.
One thing that I definitely know, though, is that the doctor's in that box.
Man, the doctor's obviously in the box. The doctor is in the box, but how did he get there? Is he truly dead? We all know that the doctor has the ability to suspend, almost put himself in a form of suspended animation.
Like a trance, yeah.
Put himself in a trance.
We also know that he can generate holograms that are very realistic.
Well,
right?
the other
Because
thing,
we saw
though,
Clara.
the other thing
Right.
to consider is the nature of the ghosts.
Yep.
I mean, they're not based on the corporeal bodies of the people who were slain.
No, it's
They're
like
a projection of
electromagnetic.
some kind of electromagnetic projection.
Yeah, because they mentioned the Faraday cage.
Right.
They can only interact with metal objects.
Right.
How disappointed would you be if these projections were actually all created by the doctor in the past?
I don't know about that, but
I don't know
not
about
so
that.
much by the alien.
I
Well,
really don't
what-
know about that because
I don't think
they've
the
been
doctor's
trying
gonna kill
to
people.
kill people, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a fair
they
point.
really were killing people.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a floating body outside. I hope the doctor didn't do that.
So we've seen one body, right? We've seen no other bodies, and the only body we
Well-
saw was the corporate guy. No big loss.
Well, we didn't see the body of the captain because he was burned to death, and
Right.
he was sealed in that chamber.
It's okay, I understand. You're an idiot.
Apart from O'Donnell, the fangirl, I really can't say I have any complaints about this episode. I thought it looked great, it sounded great, the pacing was good, the writing was good. Clara didn't say shut up to anyone who wasn't talking. We didn't have a whole lot of sarcasm. The sarcasm we did have was well placed. There are always moments in horror movies when you have a character who's being nervously sarcastic. Like they're trying to cover how afraid they are by getting a little snarky.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. And this really feels like a little Hinchcliffe
Yeah.
horror, classic
It really does.
Gothic horror, but set in the 22nd century type of thing, which Doctor Who does so well.
Yeah, beautiful sets on this one too.
Yeah.
I can't even tell if those are repurposed locations or if those are fully built sets.
They did
They're
look
just
like
The control room
wonderful
looked
It
like the one in
repurposed
Last
from the
Christmas.
Yeah.
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 But, if you redress a set and light it differently,
No, it's
it looks really good. You have to
brilliant
look
work.
for it. Yeah.
It was also fun seeing Clara taking down a peg. She's been getting very, very complacent.
And at this point, Lewis's microphone stopped working, and nobody noticed for several minutes. We will now jump forward in time to when Lewis's mic was working again. Ta-da! But we do know that he can communicate across time because he did that with Rose's cell phone in, what was that, End of the World?
And Martha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. So we've seen that before with two companions. So we know that that's possible. As far as him going back in time to solve a mystery, yeah, it's been a while. Like 31 years.
So what do we anticipate that the aliens that are going to be reintroduced, they look pretty cool. We've seen in the series 9 trailer, we saw the blue alien, and we saw the flood about to be initiated because I'm assuming that there's some kind of a dam or whatever that gets broken and floods the town.
Yeah.
I'm kind of assuming that the doctor sought refuge in that pod
To survive the flood.
to survive the flood. But what about his other, one-trip companions? What happened with them? Perhaps they're still in the TARDIS.
Could be.
I had this other crazy idea, which won't come to fruition, but that the cryogenic suspension is not actually what it appears to be, but the doctor has temporarily fixed the chameleon circuit. And just if you think you don't like sunglasses, how are you going to like the chameleon circuit being semi-fixed? Well, of course not, but it's fun to talk about.
Maybe it's a zero cabinet.
There you go. That is fantastic. It's a zero cabinet, and the ship that's under the lake is actually the TARDIS. And the writing on there is the TARDIS attempting to communicate, but not succeeding. That's brilliant.
Wow.
Speculate.
I would not put it past this production staff to fix the chameleon circuit at least long enough to get half of the internet in an uproar over it.
Bring back the glasses.
I mean, can you imagine? They've done that on a couple of occasions. Like, remember Attack of the Cybermen when they temporarily fixed the chameleon circuit?
But then after that, he went back to the police box, and somebody asked why, and he said, "Oh, I like it. It's a classic design."
Right.
So, hypothetically,
Classic
it is fixed,
indeed.
right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun, whatever it is. One thing I've got to give credit for, though, like after the first 2 episodes, I remember thinking, okay, this whole season can't just be bringing back the classic monsters, and here we are. Now, granted, the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, really, they gave him Davros eyes? But not actually the case. We have a different type of alien or / monster, and actually, if you look at the eyes carefully, they have like a mirror surface.
Yeah.
They're reflecting or showing something. And I'm hoping that gets
Addressed.
explained in more
I
detail.
wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I'm hoping if we get a little more info into the eyes next time.
Yeah, I wonder what the nature of these ghosts is really going to turn out to be.
Well, we know one thing. They're not human.
I know one thing. The ending of this episode, which I watched with a group of people on 2 occasions, caused everybody in the room to jump up and almost start shouting and throwing things at the television screen. It was such an effective cliffhanger.
And that's a good thing because on the one hand, you could say, oh, we know the doctor's not going to die because without the doctor, there's no show. But on the other hand, they always do this, right?
Yeah.
They always put the doctor in some kind of peril at the end of an episode. Somebody's in peril, and over the course of the years, it's been the doctor a lot.
So, being in peril, what kind of sunglasses would you recommend he get?
I would recommend the Jujanta 2000 peril-sensitive sunglasses.
But maybe he's already wearing them.
Well, that's what I was thinking is that, he takes them off when he really wants to get a good look at something scary. So if the doctor is wearing peril-sensitive sonic sunglasses, I think that would be great. It'd also be great if he takes a tiny spaceship out of his pocket, opens the briefcase, and then okay, never mind.
K9 could eat it, and then where would you be? Okay.
We don't have K9 in this episode.
Oh, that's what's
we
missing
don't.
from this Scooby-Doo adventure.
Let me ask you two this.
Scooby-Who?
What
Exactly.
do you... I'm glad somebody finally said that, so I didn't have to. But what do you two think of these insinuations that a robotic squirrel, mentioned by the doctor early in the episode, will actually be seen before the end of the season?
I doubt it.
I hope not.
I think that's a throwaway line, just like, when Dr. Watson says something about, and it reminds me of the tale of the aluminium crutch, but that's a story for another day, and then goes right on with the narrative. I mean, Conan Doyle never wrote the story. We're never going to see the mechanical squirrel. I hope.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
Because that would just be nuts.
The jokes get worse.
Okay, before the jokes get any worse, let's sign off. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next week.
Be seeing you.
I can't wait to see what happens next.